Say for us. First of all, this track has been with me forever. Like I wrote this when I was in high school, and this is the song that I'd like play at like high school talent shows and stuff. And like I used this for a class project one time. Like this song has been around forever, but it's funny that it's still applicable to me. So I had a piece written for it. So it says, "Say for us" is about existing in the comfortable gap between justified sadness, at the same time knowing that happiness is possible. I've lived a long time with resentment, frustration, regret, and it is so simple to be down in situations. But real courage and growth is proven in deciding happiness. The song highlights that attempt to decide and the contrary feelings that can reside. One can loathe and fall back into the same patterns of remorse and self-pity, but I attempt happiness.
The first one's the hardest when you don't know you're sleeping wet. When your dreams cry for attention in the fright of a best. I want to cry and fly like the leaves that fall into the wind, and my brownie points won't be much in the end of it all. I'm slipping in wet shoes, I'm slopping in the mud. I'm scared of these next lines and what they'll say for us. The sun's peering through, it might dry up today, but my visions, they won't glisten quite the same. They won't glisten quite the same. First one's the hardest when don't know you're sleeping wet. When your dreams cry for attention in the fright of a bed. I want to cry and fly like the leaves that fall into the wind, and my brownie points won't be much in the air of it all. Slipping in wet shoes, slopping in the mud. I'm scared of these next lines and what they'll say for us. The sun's peering through, my job today. But my visions, they won't listen quite the same. They won't listen quite the same. Slipping in wet shoes, slopping in the mud. Scared of these next lines they'll say for us.
When I was listening to that, I mean, I've obviously listened to it before, but you said that you made it in high school and that kind of like intro that you had for it, and it kind of took me back to high school, which is kind of funny because it sounded a lot like the indie music that I would listen to, and I don't know, it was kind of cool. It was, I mean, I feel like every high schooler like is in that situation at some point, like trying to find the light at the end of the tunnel. So I don't know, that was cool. It was like a little teleported for a little bit.
Yeah. And I like this song too because I feel like it taught me a lesson about lyrics. Because the chorus, I wrote those lyrics and I hated them. I was like, I'm slipping in wet shoes and slopping in the mud. I'm scared of these next lines and what they say for us. The sun's peering through, it might dry up today, but my visions, they won't glisten quite the same. I was like, man, slopping and slopping. I was like, that's so dumb. It's like, that is the dumbest thing ever. But man, you hear like those little guitars, like dun 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 dun. I'm like, oh man, just feel it. No, but in all seriousness, like it taught me to like believe in the lyrics that you're writing, and I think with mantra as well. Like I've written countless Spanish lyrics, and I'm like, no, like this, no, not yet, like, but yeah, like believe in the little things that you write down or your little epiphanies that you have in your journals. Like you never know what they can become or like what form they'll take. But, and if you don't have
Everyone's
anything to
looking
say,
at me now, like, oh, it was. Whenever I've heard this song, it reminds me. It's not sad, but it is a little melancholic, and it seems to harken back to earlier days, for sure. And I always get a very strong sense of, I always laugh and say, oh, it's my quarter life crisis. I'm at 25 and nothing's working out right, and I feel like I should, this must be something what people feel like when they hit 50 and they're like, oh no, whatever that feels like, I don't know, but that's the sense I get is almost this, it's you're still young, you're not looking back with the benefit of age, but you're looking back on the past with benefit of some time and saying, wow, there was something different then. And yet here I am now at like a newer beginning, but also some kind of a bittersweet idea of what the past was. At least when I listen to it, that's what it reminds me of.
Beautifully said.
Like when you're in this, it's like, yeah, I'm not at the end, but I've done some of it, of life. And I can already tell it's different than what it was.
yeah, high school is a really strange thing. Like your whole goal is just to finish. You're like, man, this place sucks. Like when I get out of here, and then you get out and you're like, shoot. And then like every day is a decision about who you are and what you're gonna be. And it's like, but the funny thing is, like, if you think back on it, or for me at least, I think back on it and I always kind of judge myself for the things that I worried about. But like that was my maximum capacity. And I was like, man, like this is ridiculous. Like, but life is really strange in the way that it evolves. And you're always maxing out. Whether it's jobs, whether it's college, whether it's being a father, a husband, whatever. Like there's always something that pushes you to that level, and in our half-life crisis we'll be like, oh man, I was so ridiculous at 25.
I think it's a good thing though. being able to, well, being fortunate enough to even look back on your life, and also being able to have the competence that you've lived right enough that you can look back and say, well, look, I can realize what was good and what was bad, and I have grown and matured so much that I can now see it differently. I remember my brother one time, he was going through a really rough time. He asked me, he said, hey, what should I do with all this? And, I remember thinking about it, and his comment was, he said, I don't want the change. I'm scared that I'll become someone different. And I like me who I am, and who I am and how I am. I don't want to be different than this. And I thought about it over the next month or two, but now I'm thinking and realizing, well, it's like tough luck. You're going to change regardless. You can't stop it. No one's able to freeze themselves in time. If you do, you're not living. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to live, all you can do is choose the direction, choose how you'll change to some extent. Even then, you're also along for the ride for parts of it too. You can't really choose everything, but you can choose how you react. You can choose how you think. A lot of times you can choose what you do when situations that you can't control happen. And the biggest one is you can choose how you treat your past. Mm-hmm. And that's a big one with me. I always say this too, but I could talk for hours on this. But for me, it's always been a big thing, because I'm always told, oh, this thing in the past is what ruined your life. I'm like, well, screw you. Who are you to say that my life is what it is when you haven't lived it? And that just means you have no respect or understanding for how impactful my past was to me now. By saying it, the whole point in saying, oh, it ruined your life. It's like, we think my life is ruined now? I don't know myself, but I like to think it's not. Mm-hmm. And
it's always new.
Exactly. There's always, it's never, you can't get stuck into the whole trap of looking back too much. But I do like that song because I don't get the feeling of, spiraling downwards. It's very clearly written in a sense of hope. It's interesting, the past exists. It happened. But now what? Kind of a sense. Where you see, you look back at the past to figure out where you are. But what's most important is where you're going.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a song about surrender. It's like, even though it's sad, it's like I'm gonna make the best of this. And as you were talking, I remembered, like, one of my favorite books is Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. But there's a part in the main character's journey where he's on the river and he's with this ferryman, and he finds his work with this ferryman. And this is why I want to name our child River. But there's the river, and the ferryman's like, you realize that in every second the river is new. Like, you look at the river and it's just this thing, but in every moment it's new water. And I thought about that. I was like, it's honestly really profound. And I mean, that's kind of what you just described. Like, life is just a new canvas all the time. Like moments just gonna happen to you, and like, what are you gonna do with it? So the song is like, even if it's crazy, like, the sun's gonna come out, and like, no matter how it shines, like, I'm gonna give it my all.